Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am with Dr. Scott Eilers, and we are going to talk about all things sleep today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me again. We are covering a lot of important ground here with these chats, I think.
Absolutely.
So, to lead into sleep, here's what I want you to picture. Picture a world where every person is 32% more productive, 32% more regulated, and has 32% better memory. Sounds amazing, right?
Yeah, any business would buy into that in a heartbeat.
That is the world we would live in if everyone got enough sleep.
Oh, wow.
Because the average, at least when I say world, I guess I should say America. I don't know the global data, but the average North American adult is sleep deprived because the average amount of sleep, based on quite a few pretty robust studies, the average amount of sleep that an adult in the USA gets is 6.5 hours a night. And that is mild sleep deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
And being mildly sleep deprived can decrease cognitive performance by up to 32%.
Wow.
So, my opinion is that sleep deprivation might be the single biggest problem we face as a society.
Wow.
Maybe that's a bold claim, I know, but I mean, it's definitely up there. And it's definitely, I think, the one that gets talked about the least. We don't talk about sleep deprivation in the same realm as things like heart disease. And yeah, it's less obviously fatal, for example, but it might not be if you think about the implications of sleep deprivation. Things like automobile accidents, for example. How many of those would be prevented if people were getting enough sleep, if people were just a little more alert or had a little better reaction time? I think maybe we're not always seeing the big picture in terms of the negative outcomes of sleep deprivation.
Well, and if you think about it, you can have heart disease for years and survive, but if you go
Mm-hmm.
without sleep for a few days, you die, kind of.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so I
Directly
might
or
I might agree
indirectly.
with you that I think it's more important.
It's definitely up there, and it's definitely underappreciated and undertreated as far as major public health concerns go. And I legitimately believe it belongs in that category. Major public health concerns, sleep deprivation, it should be there.
Interesting. So I know just from a nutritional standpoint that sleep helps with artery function and the immune system and your overall brain. But can you talk about mental well-being on a well-rested person and an unwell rested or not rested person?
Yeah. So the part of the brain that shows the most reduction in functioning from even mild sleep deprivation is the frontal lobe, the front third or so of your brain. That is the part of our brain that is the most different or the most distinct from other mammals who are pretty neurologically similar to us, like chimps or dolphins, for example. Basically, everything that's unique to us as human beings lives in the frontal lobe. So if you think about all the things we can do, like our sense of time, we were the first animals to really create like clocks and calendars and things like that because we understand long-term passage of time and orientation to space and time differently than other mammals. Really complex social engagement. We can do things like take the perspective of another person or have empathy and even some degree of emotional experience for something we've never experienced just by hearing it or seeing it in another person. Our ability to attend to details, to kind of do the fine detail oriented work in our day. For me, that's things like remembering to sign my documents. That's detail oriented work that I notice it's a marked difference to me. I have a little flag on our electronic record system that tells me if I forget to sign it. And on days when I'm underslept, it's like every other note. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't sign that note. Whoops. Um, Emotion regulation is a big one. So our emotions are created or experienced in our limbic system. It's a more kind of primitive part of our brain. And then it's our frontal lobe that basically helps us figure out, okay, you have this feeling like you're angry, you're frustrated right now. The
Mhm.
frontal lobe is what says, well, what should we do with that? Should we go into a road rage episode and freak out? Or should we pull over and call someone and vent. So choosing to do the latter of the two is engaging in emotion regulation. You have this strong feeling that makes you want to act, but you're able to think critically about the situation and decide what's going to be the most effective, what's going to cause the least consequences for me. That's a frontal lobe task. We're much better at that than other animals. Other animals get mad and they are aggressive. We have choice. We have more of a choice in that. Long-term planning is a frontal lobe task. So thinking about how a choice you make today might affect you in a day or in a week or in a month. That's something that we're not able to do as well when we're underslept. I mean, there's more, honestly, like we could talk the whole hour on just that, but it would get boring really fast, I think. But I mean, most of the things that you do in a day as an adult, in terms of whether it's your job or if you're in school, or if you have children, taking care of children, engaging with your partner, hanging out with your friends, managing your affairs, cleaning your house, paying your bills, all of these are tasks that live and are managed by your frontal lobe. And all of these are things you will not do as well if you aren't sleeping enough. I mean, it's like literally everything.
So, you know how you said that we're 32% like less productive if
Mm-hmm.
we're underslept? Would you say we're 32% less of ourselves if we're underslept?
Oh, that's a really good question, because we have to define what the self is. Is the self your frontal lobes, or is the self, your bare kind of raw emotions before you regulate them?
I mean, I
That's a
would
hard.
argue I'm pretty mean when I don't sleep well. So,
You will definitely, there will be noticeable personality differences if you don't get enough sleep. That's pretty indisputable. I probably shouldn't take on which one of those is the real you, because that's very debatable. But
yeah.
yeah, you'll definitely be different. No doubt
Okay.
about that.